Hey everyone, I'm Superfizz. I'm here with my good friend Joe Clappis, who you know as JCRTP from Rocket Pool. Oh, see if we were cool, we'd have played Rocket Pool in
I
the
still have
intro.
that stuck in my head. It's
I,
been like 6 months and I
I
still
always
can't
have that
get it
stuck in
out.
my head.
It's such a good
Um,
song.
it is. I'm very happy. In fact, I told him recently that that's my favorite jam of his. That's Jonathan Mann Rocket Pool song. So Joe and I Joe did something really awesome. Joe's been working on a thing that's really awesome, and I feel like I've honestly been more excited about it than he is. Is that fair?
Uh, I know you've been excited about it. So this has been a labor of love for me. It initially hit the design back in January. So I've been working on this for a little under 3 months now. We've put a lot of TLC into it, and I'm excited for people to be able to use it on mainnet. I would say when we first released the beta version for our Praetor beta testers to use, I was probably about the same amount of exciting as you were right now. Now
Yeah.
I'm more relieved that it's out than anything else. Yeah,
Can Can I tell you a secret?
sure.
I haven't tested it yet at
Okay.
all. I
Well,
haven't even seen it,
this is going to
and
be
so
fun then.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm excited about. Like I've promoted it a little bit on Twitter just because I love the screenshots, but I haven't really touched it, and so it's great because um, I do think this is going to be a really great way to onboard people who are a little bit intimidated by using the CLI, um, and so I'm very comfortable with the terminal interface for Rocket Pool. But today, I hope you will help me upgrade my Praetor node to the new interface. Is that something we can do together?
I would be happy to. And if all goes according to plan, this should not take very long. And we can do a little bit of exploration. For the
Awesome.
record, this is not scripted. We're doing it live. So if something pops up, we're going to fix it live.
It's
There you
it's
go.
gonna pop up. Well, and that's I I shouldn't take this for granted, but I have so few issues with Rocket Pool. Like um I know I get this brand as like an eternal Rocket Pool pumper, but I pump Rocket Pool because it's a freaking awesome product. It's just where I'm at. So
Thanks, man.
let me see. I have just a couple scripts here. One of them is going to be update Rocket Pool. And this is also, speaking of first times, I've never used PowerShell before. I'm a native Linux user,
Oh,
but I had
it's SSH. Like
it's
yeah,
real. Yeah, I
it's
know. It feels like I'm using Windows, and it makes me sick to my stomach. Um, so my update Rocket Pool script is pretty simple. Uh,
okay. So we have, I'll give you a couple of tips as far as this goes.
hey, I
Uh,
might want to increase. Oh, I can. It does work. Okay.
yeah. So thing the first, we have a little docs, a web page on our docs website that walks you through what the migration process is going to look like. So the installation process is basically the same, but it shows you what's changed, what's new, how to use the new features. We're going to go through all of that together, so you don't have to bring it up now. But that is available for people that don't have access to put me on a Zoom call, and I can walk them through it and that kind of stuff. That's all there. Thing the second, and I did this just for you, Fizz, the dash N Praetor flag that used to be part of the installer is gone. You don't need to do that anymore. So the installer will now dynamically figure out what network you want to use through its interview process. So you don't have to manually specify that, which is great because if you accidentally forget to do it when you're upgrading and suddenly you're on the mainnet release, you don't
Which
really
I
want to be in
do
that situation.
frequently.
Exactly. So that's been taken care of. The dash
Well,
D good
you know,
there.
the great thing for me that there is not having to modify scripts between
Yeah.
my test node and my mainnet node. So that's pretty handy.
Definitely. There's been a lot of quality of life improvements from this. Thing the third, the service starts. I would put service config in between those two things. So service config now, it's not intrusive. It doesn't really get in the way in any respect, but it does show you what's changed from one release to the next. So if you like do an upgrade, it'll tell you, okay, so we have a new Lighthouse release. This version of the Docker image has changed. And also they have changed their max peers setting by default. So if you're using the default of 80 and they change it to 100, we're going to make you use 100. If you changed it to 90 or something like that, you get to keep your 90, that kind of thing.
Okay. Um,
Yeah.
I we were actually just talking about Song a Day Man, and I realized that he's still using. I gave him this version of script that has Prater in it, so I'm
That's
gonna let
okay.
him know. Update your.
It'll let them know there's a little message being like, note the network flag, the -n is deprecated. You don't need it anymore, but it won't break anything.
Oh, good. So that is really awesome. Oh, so my assumption, honestly, was that it would revert back to Prater when he ran that. So
It just says you don't really need this anymore. You can keep it. I'm going to ignore it, but in the future you can get rid of it.
okay. All right. I'm sorry for.
No problem.
So
The rest of that looks good.
great. It looks like I don't have the bottom of my. I don't have the bottom of my screen here, so I'm not able to see the nano command taskbar. Okay, so I'm going to pull the smart node installer. I'm going to stop the service. I'm going to install the new service. I'm going to run service config, which I'm not familiar with, but you did mention it.
We'll walk you
I'm
through
going to
it.
start it and then check the version.
Sounds good.
Pulling it. Oh, okay.
Oh, you have an old version of the like you have a release candidate on there.
Oh, so do I need to go blow it away?
Yeah, so just get rid of the old release candidate version. Or the directory itself with all of the installation files on there, like your .rocket pool or whatever.
Oh, okay.
There's an easy-ish fix, but the for the sake of this, I think the simplest way is just to remove the user settings that you have in there, which is the file that the new TUI creates.
Okay, so hold on. If I delete Rocket Pool,
that'll work too.
That deletes everything. Exactly what am I deleting?
So what you need to do is that user-settings.yml file.
Yes.
That's the one you want to remove because that's an old file that has an old configuration.
Okay, and that's the only thing that I'm deleting.
Yeah.
And obviously, for anybody who's watching, I've been running Prater for a long time. If I removed this entire directory, it would remove all of my chain data and everything that is important, and I would be starting from scratch. So I'm careful just to remove one file.
Yeah, so what I will point out there is since you have the system listed, there's a folder in the middle called old_config_backup as part of the migration process to go from whatever the previous version was to 1.3. We back up literally all of your settings, everything that's from the chains folder to your start scripts to the settings you've chosen and stuff, everything gets put into there. And the guide for the migration that I was mentioning earlier has a little section on how to revert back to the old version if you need to, if something has kind of gone awry or whatever. So we don't need to do that here probably.
People who do a fresh install don't need to worry about it. People who do an upgrade will need to delete settings.yml, and that's the only thing they'll need to do.
Well, no, that user settings isn't there normally.
Oh, okay.
People who upgrade on mainnet from like version 1.2 or whatever to 1.3, that file isn't going to be there. That's only an artifact of the release candidates. Or
got it. It's just me fooling around. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Let's do scripts. And so now I'm going to run my update Rocket Pool script again. And do I need to?
That looks like a permissions problem to me.
And so looking in bin, it is owned by Fizz.
I know what it is. So you removed the Rocket Pool binary. So now that you've
downloaded
it, you have to give it execution.
Yes, you're right. Oh, great. Thank you.
It's
a good thing we didn't script this
live.
And so, just to reiterate what Joe said, nothing is wrong here. I deleted this file foolishly. And no normal users won't run into these problems. I'm going to try again.
Yeah, our documentation covers everything that you're doing here, and it walks you through how to do these things. So if you're new to the smart node stack and things like that, then you won't run into these problems. But
I have been seeing this for like months, and I was like, I'm going to wait until I can do it cold.
Yeah. So this is what you're looking at here is the migration. So it knows that you had a previous version of a Prater install, like a 1.2 or something like that. So it's tried to preserve as many of your settings as possible. Usually it gets all of them unless you mess with the Docker Compose files manually. And then you can just sort of use this as a verification that it got them right, or you can adjust things as necessary.
Great.
Yeah, but this is the this is the new service config screen. So rather than the text-based interview we had before, that was a single question and then a single question, a single question. This whole process is much more dynamic. It's much more visual. It's easier to use, and hopefully, people find that it makes it trivial to do updates and changes to their SmartNode stack, like, for example, changing your ETH2 clients or your consensus clients.
Yeah. So, I don't want to jump too far. Could this be used to switch from Prater to mainnet?
Oh yes.
Because you'd still need to clean out all of your.
No, it does that for you, and you're certainly welcome to try that. It gives you a big warning, being like, "Look, we're about to delete literally everything, including your wallet and all your validator keys."
I'm hesitant. I'm hesitant because I value my Prater uptime.
Sure.
But you're sure it's going to give me a? You wrote it, right? So.
Oh, I wrote it just for you, Fizz.
Now let's decide which mode. I want out. I want back. I got scared.
Press escape to go back.
Oh, great. Oh, it does. It's like I love the whole. It's TUI. It's like straight up real TUI.
On the bottom, those little
boxes, navigate,
select. Little labels show you how to do things. Yeah.
Love it. So I'm going to stick with Prater just because I'm comfortable.
Okay, we can always mess around with this and try to do like a new install and go to mainnet afterwards.
And I want to do a speed run. I want to do like, look how I can install Rocket Pool in 10 minutes.
Sure. It takes less than that. You can get
so
less than one.
I'm locally yeah. Well, hey, I was going to say, people don't do scripted setups anyway. The one drawback of this might be the difficulty with scripted setups, but
no, so we cover that too. There's a headless mode where if you are not able to like do an interactive terminal UI like this and everything is scripted, the Rocket Pool service config command can accept flags for every setting you want to change. So you can just run that headlessly.
That's gorgeous. Great.
Yeah, we actually had some of our Oracle DAO members who run in that kind of configuration.
Yeah, I think that I saw that. Yeah. Okay, so I'm keeping Geth. I'm not going to use a fallback client.
That's fine.
And let's see, consensus client mode. I would like a locally managed consensus client. I'm currently running Lighthouse. Everyone knows my secret now.
Make sure when you're talking to Ben about this, you mentioned the terminology update that we went through with execution client versus consensus client versus.
Oh, it's funny because I did notice on the previous screen, where it says formerly ETH2 client. I was like, it's updated language. I love that. But I probably won't bring that up to Ben.
We aim to please.
All right, so Lighthouse is just describing the client. Hey, and this is so great because
press enter on Prism. Watch what happens. You get this little note that like
maybe probably you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, think about that if you really want to.
You may not know we have new data today suggesting that Prism has 54%. So that's right.
Maybe I should take that out then.
Still validating the data, but it's pretty exciting. Thanks. Shout out, by the way, to Michael Sproul for developing that.
Thank you.
And okay, so I'm going to stick with Lighthouse. And so this is my graffiti.
Yeah, so that it's basically keeping track of everything that you had previously set, and it's recording it all here, so you don't have to go back and change anything.
I didn't even know that was my historical graffiti.
Well, now you do. That's too many characters. It won't let you type more than 60.
I like to search by my own graffiti, but okay, that'll work.
Okay.
And checkpoint sync. So I don't need checkpoint sync now because I'm already synced up.
Okay, so you can leave it blank.
And doppelganger detection. I am not going to. I can say that. Interestingly, I saw a post on Reddit today of a guy who said he almost got slashed.
He did.
So I cringed. I was like, please don't say you almost got slashed.
I think his name was. So yeah, this was a little thing that happened last night after he updated. He changed clients from Lighthouse to Nimbus, and I don't do slashing database migration yet. So the clients don't share them. So as a stopgap to make sure you don't get slashed, The smart node enforces a 15-minute cooldown
Yeah.
between when your old client stopped and when your new client starts up to make sure that you don't accidentally double a test and get slashed. It's in big red letters, and we can take a look at that if you want, but it tells you like, hey, guess what? We're going to stop you from starting this thing up until your validator client has been offline for 15 minutes. And it gives you a little countdown that regularly updates. When the countdown's done, it starts you up. And he, I guess, misread that or something and ignored it and tried starting it up anyway. And the only reason that he didn't get slashed was because he didn't put a checkpoint sync provider in. So his new client started syncing.
It took a while. Yeah. Okay. Because when I saw that, I'm like, I spend all of my time convincing people that Rocket Pool is easy to stake with. And then it's like, oh, I almost got slashed. And I'm like, don't say that. But,
Yeah.
Okay.
At the end of the day, I can only protect you from yourself so much,
Yeah. And he's a good user. So I don't,
Yes,
he's a good person. I don't. All right. Would you like to enable metrics? Yes, I want metrics. Loving the dashboard still. All done. You're ready to run. If you'd like to review and change all the smart nodes, I just have an exit. Let's review them.
Yeah, so this is the settings screen that you see after you've run service config for the first time. You can always go back to the wizard if you prefer it because you like the workflow. There's a button on the bottom right of the screen there, open the config wizard. But most of the time, if you just need to change a quick little setting or two, then this is going to be the way to do it.
Oh, and this is what we just went through.
Exactly. This brings you right back. So you can just press enter a bunch or go through that or do service config again. That's fine.
So I think I quit. Did I do it wrong?
You quit without saving, which is fine.
Okay.
So if you run the updater again, it'll just go through this whole process.
And we can zip through it again really quick.
Exactly. Just press enter a bunch because I don't think you changed anything in here.
No, I didn't.
No. So this is what I meant when I said you can do it in less than a minute.
Yeah. So that's just incredible.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. And so this is the more kind of fine-grained control you have over different facets of the smart node stack. So like pick a random category and you can drill down into it and see what it looks like. So here's your consensus client settings.
And so I can modify that now.
Yeah. So all the stuff you had before, like whether you were locally or externally managed, which is basically Docker mode or hybrid mode for our older users, which clients you want to use, that kind of stuff. All that's configurable here, plus some additional things that some of our power users might want to play with. Like if you need to change your tag so this is, the container tag right here. If Lighthouse comes out with a new version, you can put that new version in right here and it'll use it. You don't have to wait for us to release a new smart node version that has it baked in.
That's so great. And that's one of the questions I get from knowledgeable new users is, do I have to wait for Rocket Pool to update clients? And I'm always like, no, it takes editing one file to download the new Docker image. And this makes that even easier.
Now it's editing a text box. So you always want to do your due diligence when you're running that. Sometimes client updates come with breaking changes to like their API service or whatever. That means they aren't going to be compatible with the smart node stuff until we change our code to make it compatible with the new stuff. But that's pretty rare. I think that's only happened once in like the entire time I've been working on this thing. And that's with the release of the actual beacon chain itself. So
yeah, and that would be more about major releases anyway than incremental hot fixes.
If you're looking at just a patch version, usually it's safe to do that.
Tell me about add-ons.
So the notion behind add-ons, this is actually something that was brought up by our community. We simply don't have the manpower to do every little feature that people have asked for. Things like integration with beaconshot.in, the beacon chain websites, their notification system and their metrics monitor for like hardware metrics and things like that. We've been asked about that a few times. Ramiron's graffiti wall changer that lets you kind of write on the graffiti wall, that kind of stuff, all that is there. So we put in this add-ons feature that allows our users to essentially extend Rocket Pool with their own Docker containers that have access to the smart node stack. They can see, they can query the ETH2 API, they can query the ETH1 API, they can do whatever they want in that respect. They don't have access to your validator keys, so it's safe in that respect, but people can write stuff, put it in a Docker container, get access to the smart node stack and everything that lives in there. And
so this would be Yorick Downs ETH2 Docker to run. I could run my other keys against this using his Docker image with this as a plugin here.
Perhaps, yeah.
Okay.
You can think of this as sort of like a community managed plugins kind of system.
I love it.
Yeah, so if you wanted to throw another validator container for solo keys or whatever, you could totally do that.
This is just incredible. I knew it was going to be good, and I was so excited by the screenshots. Um, Now I'm afraid that I'm going to exit without saving it.
Which is
So
fine. It won't break anything. You just have to go through this process again.
okay, so if I escape eventually gets me to the top level, and then I have to tab to here to save it, right?
Yeah. You have to save on purpose, essentially. There's no accidental saving.
And it tells me the changes. Would you like Smart Note start Smart Note services automatically now? Yeah.
And off it goes. That was
Awesome.
easy. So this is going to start twice, I believe, because it will automatically start after you're done with service config, and then your script is going to try to run service start. Again.
Ah,
It's already been started, so there's nothing interesting for it to do, which is fine. Yeah, so this is it's trying to start again, and then it gives you the version information. Looks good to me.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
I love it. So to get back there, I would it's Rocket Bowl service config again. Is that right?
Mhm.
Okay. And
That's it.
then just Control C to exit.
That's it.
That is just gorgeous.
You want to
Makes
try
my day.
changing a client or switching to mainnet or anything like that?
This is my Prater baby. I mean, I've been
Okay.
I've been coddling this. It's I launched it, I think, the first day that Rocket Pool went live on Prater. And so I have affection for it like a mainnet node.
Sure.
But we could change clients.
Whatever you're
Maybe
into.
not. I'm not into it. I'm just scared.
That's fine.
So on one hand, as Super Fizz, I'm like, relax, everyone, everything's going to be okay. You're not going to break anything. But I'm also a human. Like when it comes to my own stuff, I'm like, don't mess with stuff that you don't need to mess with. So I'm not afraid of being slashed, but I also appreciate uptime.
Well, we can do a secondary install. That's not your main one if you want. And you just never start it, essentially.
Oh, you mean like on the same machine?
Same machine, yeah. So we can have a second folder that has a completely new Rocket Pool installation, totally new wallets, totally new validator keys, all that stuff. And we just never start it. So that way it doesn't interfere with your existing one. But you can still go through the service config process to see what that looks like if you're interested.
Yeah, I'm thinking about something. I may have
Sure.
a clean virtual machine. Let me check that real quick.
Okay.
No, I think that's Kilm. I think it's Besu, Teku Besu, maybe. I don't have that machine up. Okay, let's do it here. Talk me through it.
Okay, you want to do the second folder?
Yeah, but
Okay.
yeah, as an alternate director that I'll delete when I'm done.
Yeah, and this is easy because I do this during testing all the time.
Okay.
So what you want to do is do a Rocket Pool service install. And here you're going to do a -p, which stands for path, and you give it the folder you want to install to. And so this can be anything else besides the default. Yeah, that's fine. And then do a -d as well to get rid of the dependencies.
Yes. Okay. And other people won't have this. I should probably spell it. I use an alias.
Yeah, I do the same thing because I'm lazy. Mine is RP, but same idea.
Probably because you're an R developer, right? Just kidding. All right, so
a long lifetime ago, sure.
I used to be obsessed with R. Rocket Pool service install. The location's going to be Rocket Test, and
Yep.
don't install the dependencies if you're upgrading. Are you sure? Yes.
Cool.
And so
if you go to that folder now, the Rocket Test folder, you can see there is a completely fresh install in there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So now do Rocket Pool service config, but before the service config, after the Rocket Pool there, Yeah, right there. You want to do a -C, which stands for the config directory, and you just put in this directory here. So / rocket test or not rocket. Yeah, there you go. And then SC after that. Okay, so since this is a new install, it's going to give you that same wizard, and it says we're going to be configuring this monitor for the first time. So this whole process is the same, but it doesn't have anything pre-filled for you because it doesn't have anything to migrate.
Okay.
But you can go through this real quick and pick whatever you want. We're not going to start it, so you can feel free to mess around.
I did mainnet.
I mean, that's fine.
Infura will always be always be helpful for like checkpoint sync and stuff, right? Like
For
even
now, once in a future version, we're going to disable Infura in Pocket, and we'll give people plenty of warning and heads up that this is going to happen because they are not compatible with the merge, specifically with proof of custody, I believe.
So I get that for execution layer, but
yeah,
won't it still work for checkpoint on consensus layer?
Yeah, but that's a totally different
question. Yeah, I know. It's still a different side of Infura.
Yep.
Fallback execution, none. Ooh, I don't use external, but I should. And consensus client, it's going to be locally managed. Random. I do love this random.
Oh, there you go.
Hey. Hey, so yeah, I think Lighthouse may end up being the new majority client at some point. We might need to start pushing Nimbus.
Here I am trying to champion Nimbus as hard as possible.
No, I'm with you. Yeah. I love Nimbus.
I do too. It's the best one. Okay.
What? Tell me, other than efficiency, what do you like about it?
No, it's efficiency. I mean, from a feature perspective, all the clients basically have the same feature set. But Nimbus uses like half the RAM and half the CPU of everything else. So I am happily running it on a Pi. I will admit this out in the open. I have a Raspberry Pi. It has gone through my specialization procedure that I talk about in the guides and things. I have 4 validators on mainnet right now with it, and I sleep at night just fine. Yeah.
I don't. I'm not against running a Raspberry Pi.
It's because of Nimbus that I can do that. Let me just say that.
Yeah. I do. This is one of the things that doesn't get enough credit. All 4 clients, and even probably Lodestar, like, did I say that right?
Yes.
Are going to they're successful clients. I don't think there's no superiority issue. They're pretty much equivalent.
There's really not. From the client side perspective, they all work just fine in terms of validating and profitability, all that stuff. They're all basically the same. So I will always champion the clients that it has the lowest representation, but Nimbus has a special place in my heart.
No, I'm the same way. Like I champion decentralization across the network, but Rocket Pool always has a special place in my heart. Like
there you go.
I totally get it.
Warm and fuzzy. All right, so we'll save this. It's going to ask you if you want to restart. Say no. And now run service config again. With a go back and
I got to do that.
Yeah, just up.
Oh, I should have upped. You're right. There we go.
There you go. Yeah, so now go to your consensus client. And where it says Lighthouse, and that second drop down, change that to something else.
Here, is that where is that what you're referring to?
One up.
Okay.
Right there. Yeah. Open that up with enter and then
Ooh.
Scroll around with the arrow keys and change it to something else. Okay. Now
I almost randomly chose Prism, and I'm like, wait, we're doing a narrative here.
Okay, so press escape to go back.
Okay.
Now
and then
tab down and review changes. So that's it. It's going to change you from Lighthouse to Nimbus. You want to say no because you're not starting the containers, but that's all that's involved in changing clients with Rocket Pool.
That's client switching?
That's client switching right there. You just did it.
That is insane. Easy. I want to do it again just because it was so easy.
Yep.
Hey, so I'm going to change this, and then I'm going to ask you about ETH1.
Mm-hmm.
So I could now just change to Teku.
Yes.
And escape, tab, and save.
That's
and
it.
I would hit yes, but I'm going to hit no.
Right.
And now I'm changed to Teku.
That's it.
Yes, easy as pie. My next question is going to be, um, the new hotness might be alternate execution clients. Is
Oh
that
yeah,
something?
it's been on our radar for a while. The important part was getting this out to make all that switching easy and stuff like that. And especially now that the merge is basically going to remove the availability of light clients like Infura and Pocket and things. We know that we can't just have Geth as the only option here. So as in future versions, as we progress and get closer and closer towards the merge, we're going to be adding as many as we can into here.
That's
For the
awesome.
most part, I believe they have feature parity with respect to the API. So
Hmm.
not a lot needs to change on the back end side of things, and it should be pretty trivial to put them in there.
Yeah,
My only constraint with that is after reading some of the documentation for some of those clients, they can get heavy. Like Nethermind, for example, recommends you need to have 16 gigs of RAM free to do this. So you didn't see this with your system because you have a pretty high powered system, but when you're running relatively low, like a low number of cores or a low amount of RAM, the wizard, when you get to the portion where it asks you to pick a consensus client, it actually warns you when you get to Teku because it says Teku uses a lot of RAM. You probably don't have enough to do this. Are you sure? And that kind of thing. So I will probably have to do some profiling on the clients and throw that in as well to make to kind of save the user from themselves.
yeah, yeah. Um, I just I know I've said it, but I love the decentralization value that Rocket Pool is bringing to the beacon chain. Like I know right now it only represents 1% of the chain, but and I stand by this need that we need to have enough decentralization that no governance model has more than 20%. But if Rocket Pool had 20%, I would be extremely comfortable knowing that they're good stewards of the network. And so
Yeah.
it makes my day. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's more about who controls like the voting power, right? And with Rocket Pool, the node operators control the voting power. We don't have any say in it. So if we had 20% of the network, that's 20% distributed across 1,010 node operators, which
Yeah,
is, yeah. I
which
mean,
is
it's
great. Like
granted, it's
I
an uneven distribution. We have some whales in the community who have a lot of validators, but not all of them.
Well, it's we talk about you and I are we've had that kind of discussion about centralized providers as providers for Rocket Pool, and it's something I'm not really comfortable with. But at the same time, seeing the overall diversity of Rocket Pool, like
Yeah,
it's okay. Like we because I'm Rocket Pool. It's
yeah,
still a really diverse platform with 1,000 operators. It's not like two or three or even 20 operators running the entire show.
right.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, Joe. So it's funny. I was going to say what's next. I don't even want to know what's next because I want to enjoy this TUI for 6 months because it's just
Yeah,
the coolest thing ever.
on your own time when you've got your virtual machine set up, go over to the smart node and TX fees option there at the top.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, open that guy up, and you see that network drop down where it goes from Ethereum mainnet to prayer
Oh
testnet.
yeah, switch it up.
Yeah, switch it up and see what it does. Let me know how that works for you.
I would love that because so he's public, so I won't I don't have to hide it.
Yeah,
Jonathan Mann Sangadaman just onboarded, and we used 1.2.4, and we had we manually wiped away Prater to bring him up to mainnet. It would have been really neat to try this, but I wasn't ready. Like
understood.
I'm like it just released, and I need to do tried and true best practice. But it would have been so cool to do this.
Well, in the future, with whatever other onboarding you happen to be doing, it's right there. So play with it, see how it works. It's got a nice little warning that says we're going to delete literally everything. So back up all your stuff, and then it gives you a fresh install on the new network.
That is
And
so great.
relatively soon, that dropdown will also have support for Kiln too, which is exciting.
Oh yeah. I've got use Raspberry Pis. I use Nux. I've got my pile of Nux over there, and I've got uh my solo kiln Nuc, and I've got my my Rocket Pool kiln Nuc just ready to go. So
Yeah.
all right, I'm gonna end this recording. Thanks everybody for checking us out. And Joe,
Thanks,
I
all.
appreciate your time. Let me
Thanks
figure out
for-
how to stop
Thanks
recording
for
here.
putting this together, Fizz.